has been hidden inside and it folds over, which is what we kind of want. I am raining belt loops, but eventually it's going to be attached to this waistband. Vegan leather cover, feels amazing. For now, I'm immensely proud of myself. So I've got my 2 flat pockets. If I was to have the lining, this is what I've learned, if I was to have the lining on the flap, then I would want to make the lining smaller, so then the shell of the flap wraps around over the lining because it's smaller. But because I'm going to have the fabric in both the same, the same outer shell material, I think it's fine to just leave it as it is and make sure that they're just both the same. But what I do want to do is I want to fuse the top layer, and that's just to create more structure. And when you're adding fusing, you want to make sure that the rough side is the bit that you can feel, and you want that straight onto the fabric, onto your wrong side of the fabric. I'm using calico, so it doesn't matter, but make sure you get that right. I'm just now going to go iron that. I'm keeping one side not sewn so that I can turn it inside out. And because there's not one side which is curved like you might see on a flap pocket, this is just completely a rectangle. It doesn't really matter what side I start sewing on. Let's trim the sides because it's a corner, not too far down. Not too far near the thread, otherwise it will just come undone. So take your time with it when you are cutting edges. Right now I'm just attaching the jet pocket to what would be the trousers. So I'm just doing it on this scrap of fabric for now, and usually I would do it a different way from what I've been taught at university, but from doing my own research online and looking at what others are suggesting, there's this really nice professional approach to it that I really like from this YouTuber, and it just means it takes a bit more time to achieve the pocket, but I'm gonna get some really nice results. So what I'm gonna do is, before I would sort of fold it and I'd sew it down and then just flip it around and already have that pocket, whereas this method is you've got to sew it to one side without folding it and then do it to the other and then adjust it as you go along until you're happy with how they fold. So you sort of manually do it, which is another good method. So I'm going to try this out and see what it's like. The toile's finished, there's just some like alterations that need to be done. Might be tricky to see with the light, but they're just some nice pleated trousers. On the inside I've sewn this fly zip too far down. It should be right on the waist as opposed to like further down. So I'm going to unpick that and fix that, and then once that's finished, I think I'm just going to create the final. I did want to add something new and exciting to it, but I would also just like to make these and wear them, see how I feel, and then from there I can start to think about what kind of difference I want to fuse into these, so they're not just like pleated Japanese style trousers. So I have a really nice blue fabric in upstairs in one of my bags I've been keeping for this project, and yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to spend too much time altering and finding the right pattern, because at the end of the day I kind of just want to craft and make better like my skill sets when it comes to like pattern cutting, or you know, if I want or see a nice design, how can I kind of replicate that? It's nice to be able to know these skills, and then I can move further with it and find out how I can personalize it into my own design style. So yeah, I'm going to continue with that. I recently got a new notebook for 2026, as it is the, I think it's the 3rd of January, and I'm obsessed with it. It is from Waterstone, the vegan leather cover. Feels amazing, and I actually got from Postmark some nice stickers as well, which I couldn't help but show you. These, they're kind of like translucent. I just really admire the packaging. Like, if I decide to design something, you know, in a small kind of packaging, how can I make it really eye-catching? And this is exactly it. When I was in the store, that's the first thing that popped to mind, and I was like, I'm getting that. I really appreciate nice stickers that are not just like aesthetic, they are actually useful. So good. So let me unpick that. I unpicked the zip fly, and I'm now just going to sew it to itself so that it has a clean edge along the top. I'm going to snip that corner, so when I turn it inside out, it's going to give me a beautiful sharp corner. That's perfect. I think that's interesting. Why is it sitting like that? This has now been sewn, and you'll see here that this is not sewn onto anything along the top, this zipper fly, but eventually it's going to be attached to this waistband. Waistband would have been put on later, but because I've made a mistake, I've had to unpick and leave things as they are, but it's looking a lot better. I'm really happy with that. I think what I might also do is unstitch that, because I think that really should be a right angle, and at the moment it is not. I'm not happy with that. Just as a toile, I know it's okay, but I think if I'm going to do it the right way, I better do it right for the toile. So we're going to unpick that too. So far so good with this. That seems fine. I'm also going to just top stitch the edge on the right hand side just so it sits nice and flat. I had done that previously. We're just going to do it again, which is a good practice. Yeah, so that's kind of what it's looking like. I don't think this is a Waikiki, is it? I think it's just like a regular kind of zip, but it's quite nice because it's small and it fits nicely with this toile that I'm making. So yeah, I have got to make sure that I fuse the back of that mark line on the left side back trousers, so it adds structure. So I'm just going to use the welt fabric as a template for me to cut that out in the fusing. You won't really see it, well, you won't see it when everything is constructed because it is hidden. What I might just do is I'm going to cut it off 0.3 either side, just so it is slightly shorter. There we go. And then that's funny, I can actually see that line on the other side. Okay, so it's on the front side you can see the mark line. I've actually been able to find it on the back without having had marked it. It's just, I guess the fabric is thin enough that it picks up on the marker, but I'm just going to place that on top of it so it's equal on either sides. So that should do it. There we go, the pins are taken out. And that's what it's looking like. I'm in awe of her. This is just the pattern. I'm folding it up just to see what it would look like when it's got its nice pleats in. I've just sewn the waistband onto the body of the trousers. The bias tape is onto, which I handed and then sewed on with the machine. And now I'm just going to iron it away from the body, like iron the seam away from the body, and then fold this over and start to sew along. And then that's pretty much it. I've got to hem up the bottom of the trousers, and then I also have to do some hand stitching. I also would like to, well, not would like to, must get the buttonholes in there and the buttons sewn on. And yeah, I think that's it. I'm really happy. I'm really, really happy. The brightness is great, but I'm not sure if you guys are able to see very well. So I've just sewed the corners of the waistband, and I will cut the sides. Not too far. Sorry, I get really like freaked out by this. Okay. Hey, so where are we? What are we doing? Have a look at this. Oh, mother. The waistband has been sewn on, the corners have been sewn down together. I've just trimmed the side so I can get a nice sharp corner when I turn it inside out. Yeah, that's fine. Because in case I need to alter something, I don't want to damage the zip guard, so that's fine. Okay, but this side should be turned out. Okay, now I'm immensely proud of myself because this looks to me exactly like what you'd find in a shop, and I am immensely proud of that I've reached that level of craft. So now I have pinned down the waistband towards the body of the trousers, and I'm going to sew along that seam here, right down on the seam, and in hope that I'll get a really beautiful side on the other side, like a really clean finish on the other side, that's what I meant. And that's just to also keep the waistband in place so that you can't see the inside where it has been fused, so that gives it a really nice finish. So that's the last step. Okay, so I've opted to hand stitching this just because when I sew down on the seam line on the other side, I found it really tricky, especially on the toile actually. I found it really tricky to get it right, and I should really look into this because I think it would be nice to get it sewn down. Instead, what I am doing is hand stitching, which takes a bit longer to do. It takes maybe another 20 minutes to hand sewn going around, or maybe less if I do it quickly, but that's just something to consider. And yeah, I decided to do it this way just because it's much cleaner, and I love seeing the results because it's just as if nothing was there. So yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm just picking up the existing, like I'm going through the existing stitches and just picking them up on each side, and then I'm just like pulling the thread gently so it closes the hand stitches shut. So there we have it. There's the buttonhole that I used with the Singer Heavy Duty. This is another buttonhole, but it's smaller to fit the inside button. This is really nice recycled material. I thought it's such a great piece to go together. And then you've got the blue, which has this like silicone feel on the front side, and then like a plastic feel on the back. Really nice. I am raining belt loops. I've made about a gazillion. And I'm going to start attaching it onto my trousers. I thought it would be quite nice to have 3 on the centre back as a nice design feature, and then two on the front. I think that will work. The only thing is I'm worried about is that I think usually with trousers you have them, I'm not really sure, like, oh wait, hold on, 1, 2, I think there's about 6, 1, 2, 5, there's 5 here. So I'm thinking add 1 each of the front, 2 on the side maybe, and then 1 on the back. I'm going to work it out, but that's the great thing as a designer, you can decide on these things as you go along. You can also design it beforehand, but this is the way that I'm working for the moment. I think this looks good, having 1 on each side at the front, 1 next to the side seam, I think maybe have it towards the back, and then 2 on the centre back. Or I might do 2 on the side seam and then just 1 on the back. Tough one. I think that's actually quite nice. I mean, I know they're pleated trousers, but it's this idea that I would like to keep as the focus point. So I'm going to have a look and do that again and decide what would look better. This is the toile. It's very similar, really. It's got the double pleats. The only thing different that I notice is that this like a zip has been hidden inside and it folds over, which is what we kind of want. Whereas with the trousers I made, it's still fine. It's not very noticeable, to be honest, but there's some kind of error that I've done here where that should really be sitting over. But it's just a lesson learned, really, and I'm happy that it came to my realisation going forward. And yeah, the length of these are much longer. They kind of sit below the shoe, as you can see. I thought it'd be nice to wear these with Uggs, actually. I mean, even toiles are fun to wear out. And yeah, it doesn't have the belt loops, but it does have the buttons. And yeah, I think overall it's pretty much the same. I added fusing to the welts on here, so the structure is much more defined and better. And on the actual trousers I made, I didn't, so it doesn't have that strength really. But these are things that you learn and you pick up, and because once again there's so many components from the trousers, it takes a minute to like ensure that you make those techniques apparent and well considered. So yeah, that's it. This is the pleated trousers I've been working on. It's got the double pleats on the front, and yeah, overall it's just been really enjoyable to work with. And it's nice to be able to learn about all these different components that make up trousers, such as the secure stitching on certain parts of the trousers to make it more durable and long lasting. So these are parts that you use so often that you want to make sure that you have these secure stitchings, even on the belt loops too, and on the pockets also. These small touches that I just really appreciated learning about during this process of designing and making them. I really like the back, which is a small detailing, but I think it really personalises it. And I've added 2 belt loops here and then 1 on the other side, and then you've got a double welt pocket here, which I really spent time to craft and I had fun doing. I love learning about different ways to make it into, you know, a really well thought through design, and using those techniques to make the look very perfected. So I did that. I really did that, and I spent the time with it. So overall, I'm happy with it. And the button is fun because I sourced that in McCallick and Wallace in London, and it's got this nice silicone finish. On the inside I bought this nice recycled button too, and it's got this pretty unique design on it, and I thought that was really lovely. The zip is from YKK, super great as always, and it's been really nice. I got the chance to do lots of hand stitching as well, and I created my own bias tape like on the inside. That was fun, creating that own bias tape and overlocking too, plenty of different things. And yeah, I'm excited to see what I can later do with it to further develop it and make it even more exciting, because now that I have the foundation, yeah, there's a lot more too. And so the shoes too, I've paired it up with these nice Masamo Duty loafers, and I thought they were really smart. And then I have this Comme des Garçons blazer, which has this outside seam. I thought this was really fun with the distressing, and yeah, there's different ways in which you could apply this trousers to different outfits, but I think this way is really fun and experimental.